up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode, another season of Let It Be the Podcast. I'm super excited for what this season is going to bring. And I just want to say thank you for supporting for all these episodes and watching. And I pray that they have been a blessing to your life. And I pray that they continue to bless you. But nonetheless, I have a very special guest with me today, Miss Aries Webb-Williams. Miss Aries, I'm so happy to have you on Let It Be the Podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Miss Aries, if you don't know her, she is a mom. She's a podcaster. Mm-hmm. She is a tech baddie. Thank you so much for joining me, Miss Aries. I'm gonna let you introduce yourself.
I'm super excited because I've been, able to watch your journey from, concept of this podcast, and now I'm a guest, so I can't wait to get into all the convo, let them in on all our
conversations,
monthly conversations that we have.
I know. Do you remember when you saying that? It just makes me think, like, in the beginning when I was talking to you about it years ago, when it was just the audio, you told me to script it, and so that helped me so much. You told me, like, when you first started yours, you scripted your episodes, and when you just read them, and then that helped you with the jitters, and I did that when I was doing audio only. And so now that we doing video, I feel like it's a whole different thing. It's just like, girl,
especially when you're when you're interviewing people, it's easier, because you're just having a conversation. Mm-hmm. But if you're by yourself,
oh my god, those are hard.
I need a teleprompter.
Those are so hard.
Like now, I have with my podcast, I have Kim, so I'm never really by myself. Mm-hmm. I'm not recording it by myself. You know what I mean? So I have that constantly.
Yeah, like you're able to have a conversation.
My first podcast, I was by myself, so I never did video. Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I would do video.
I did.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and you see how I'm sitting here going up and down, back and forth, making sure, double checking, because listen. But Miss Aries, sorry, I'm not gonna call you Miss Aries. It's not like formal. Let me stop. Like, I'm not trying to be. It's not. I'm not trying to be formal. It's just Aries. Okay. So Aries, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are, what you be doing, where you be at, what you do for fun.
So I actually am a native of California.
Okay.
I came to Texas with, I used to work at AT&T at the time. That's how I actually came here with them to work. I've been in tech my whole career, in various roles. I've done all the roles and whatever, but pretty much I'm just a person I'm an advocate for Black people getting into tech. Mm-hmm. So most of my energy goes toward that, specifically Black women, but overall Black people in general, obviously. I'm a boy mom. I have 2 boys. So my energy is always thinking of them as well. So as I move, yes, I want to see more Black women do things. So that means within my job, wherever I work, they know my voice is loud. I am a bold Black girl.
Period.
So that's a part of my personality. So pretty much in a nutshell, that's who I am. That's what I do.
What you be doing for fun?
For fun, I love to golf. I just got back into that. I was a golfer when I was a little girl. My dad, my grandfather were golfers, and so they kind of put that in me. It wasn't cool when I was young, but because nobody else I knew was doing it. So I was like, nobody's doing it. This is corny, whatever. But then I got back into it as I got older, because it is something, like in business, it is something that is very common, The business deals are cut on the golf course.
That's what I was about to say. That's where money is made on the golf course.
I'm like, let me get my swing back, whatever. So that's a hobby that I'm going back into. Plus my son's golf. So that's a bonding time for us to get out there. And I'm like, we're going to work on these golf scholarships and stuff.
Oh, you are such a bomb mom. I love that. I love that. I suck at golf. Okay. Even top golf, I went to puttery a couple of weeks ago.
I like puttery.
A couple of months ago. And I hit the golf ball and hit this girl. It flew off the ground.
You gotta go forward.
Listen, it hit her in the back of the chair. I was like, oh my God, I'm glad they hit her in the face. I would have been in here fighting.
It's not one of those sports that you could just grab a golf club and start. Like, you need someone that can at least give you the fundamentals of how to swing it properly, stuff like that. Cause it is very intricate. But once you kind of get the flow, it's really fun. It's challenging, and stuff. So it's something different. And I like it for the boys because, everybody want to play basketball, which my oldest son does. My youngest plays baseball, but I'm always thinking future forward. I'm a very future forward thinking person, so I'm always like, everybody want to play all those sports, and if we're playing for a purpose. Yeah. I told my son he wanted to run track, and I was like, "Are you trying to go into the Olympics? Because otherwise,
what
I'm about to waste my time. It's so much other stuff that we need to be doing." But he likes it to stay conditioned, and I let them run like for fun with the school track team and stuff. Mm-hmm. But don't get me all committed to no whole bunch of stuff.
Just doing stuff. Yeah.
But also, I like to go to brunch and have fun with my girlfriends and hang out and stuff like that. I love to travel. I'm a traveler, so
yeah, you are always in a plane somewhere.
I just booked the flight yesterday, so yeah, I love to do stuff like that.
So how did we get connected? Because it has been, you knew me when I was like baby breath fresh in these Texas streets. So how do you remember how we got connected?
We were at Jacqueline Twillie's book launch party at the Riveter, which is no more. They didn't make it through the pandemic. It was a woman-owned co-working space that I used to work out of, like just temporarily, you know, during the week and stuff like that. So they partnered with me to do some events, and that was one of the events that I hosted. And then you were there, and some other girls. And I don't know, we just connected. Like, I don't know. I was basically just interviewing her about her book.
Yeah.
And then afterward, me and you talked, and from there it was just...
That's crazy.
It's history.
To be honest, I don't even know how I ended up there. I really don't. So my manager turned friend, Jasmine, she told me about it. And that was when I was like still very new. This was in like 2018, 17 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 18. Okay. Like August or so.
Yeah, so that's when I was still very much green and like trying to figure out how to be a professional in learning. And so I just one of the things that I was trying to be intentional about when I moved to Dallas was I want to be around women who are doing things. Because like for a long time, I thought that certain things were just for other people. You know, I didn't know that I could be around boss women. I didn't know that I could be in those same rooms and have conversations and network and all that. I just didn't know that was for me. So I've been trying to be very intentional with that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a big part of our connection too, because I saw myself in you as well. Like, I feel like I am a girl who came from an area that did not have people that I really didn't have people that were doing the things that I thought I wanted to do. So I had to really work hard to try to seek, you know, those type of people to even be around. And it still was hard. I just had to make it work. Yeah. So when I have the opportunity to share, you know, my journey with other people, I definitely love to do that, you know, just so that people know, like, you can do it too, girl.
Yeah, that's why I say, like, you are a trailblazer. Like, nobody really gave you the rope. Nobody told you, like, this is what you need to do. This is how you do it. You just kind of, like, figuring it out. And so I've watched you ascend, like, over the years and watch you, like, be a boss girl in tech. I thought I was going to be a girl in tech, and I was like, oh, baby, I made a mistake. I was like, this is not, when they started showing me these formulas and all that, I'm like, I am never faking on no resume ever again, pretending like I know some stuff about data that I don't. I was like, oh, get me up out of this. So.
But see, there's levels to tech, right? You have tech, very technical tech, and then you have tech adjacent tech, right? So you have your, when I first started in tech, I was on the technical side because I'm a Zennial, so I'm coming from the
Zennial?
Which is basically a hybrid of X and millennial.
I never heard that before.
Yes, girl, it's a real term. So it's X and we're on the cusp of X and being a millennial. Like technology came through us. Like we are the ones who were, you know, we got computers in our school in like the 5th grade, floppy disk, you know, like old school. And so I was testing out a lot of what technology was as a kid. And the Lord blessed me because my mom used to be a secretary for a construction company. And they were going out of business. And they were like, you can take anything you want out of here. And she brought home the computer.
Oh my gosh, really?
And we didn't have money like that. Like, imagine, like, she was like, I'm bringing a computer. You know, she was ready to get the most expensive thing out of there.
I would have did the same thing.
And didn't know what to do with it. But it was like, okay, so she came home like, figure out how to use this thing or whatever. And I just went in there and was just messing with everything.
Oh
and that's the curiosity of and why young people take to tech better than older people is because they're not afraid to break stuff. And that the fear of being like, I don't want to mess nothing up, you just freeze. You don't do anything, right? So then they call you and be like, help me do this.
That's
right?
a life gym. First of all, I feel like that is a life. That's really how they are in life.
Yes.
Afraid to make mistakes, unravel, and,
Yes. So it's like when you're just like, I don't care. And I was a kid who was very curious. I used to take any electronic thing. I wanted to see why is it doing that? Like, how is it doing that? I mean, from like the little calculators that have the little receipts that come out. I was like, how is it doing? This is
okay. Sorry.
Like a cash register.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a regular calculator. They have regular calculators. They used to have that had receipts. And so I remember taking it apart, trying to see how is what I'm doing, making it type on
Black
here.
girl in tech when you were young. See, it was embedded in you.
And if I had known some engineers, I would have pursued engineering. Now, knowing I didn't know what an engineer was. So that wasn't even... the career wasn't even I don't know. I didn't even know what that was. I just know I like to see how things work. So if I had known, I would have went that route. But I did and I was a kid and we didn't have the internet like that. So I'm still shocked at how I even figured out some of the stuff that I figured out because I signed myself up for programs at Cal, Berkeley, and I would catch the bus and go over there, and I'll be the only black girl in there, black person, period. It'd be like just Asian men and white men. Wow. And it wasn't even girls in there, like no girls.
You was just in there.
I'm in there on the weekends. I done found some free program that I can go to and watch them do experiments and just different stuff. And I'll be like, okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do with this. I just am very curious and I want to see it and be a part of it and stuff. But yeah, so I just was super, super so that's kind of how the tech bug came, but how that kind of progressed, and we can go back later, but just that curiosity, me learning how to take stuff apart. My first job in tech was a tech support role for cable TV.
Really?
And with AT&T actually. Okay. And I knew how to troubleshoot because I knew how I was doing it. Yeah. I didn't have training. But I was like, I know how to troubleshoot a TV. I do this all the time. I know I could take the VCR apart and put it back together, at this point. So that was literally that curiosity fed into my,
That is crazy. Yeah. So who outside of your curiosity, first of all, you said something that made me think about the internet when we were young. Do you remember when you couldn't talk on the phone and be on the internet at the same time?
Dial-up.
Yes, that's so crazy. Or you could tell when a phone call was about to come in because
it started clicking.
Yeah. I'm like, so to see how accessible everything is on our phone and with these kids now and how they're able to utilize the tablets and all that. Yes, there's so much information out there. There really is no excuse for you not to be able to.
When my kids ask me things, do something. There's some things I'm obviously going to answer because they're a little more, but I'm like, go look it up first. Then come to me because you have too much. Y'all got ChatGPT and stuff now.
I just downloaded it.
We talked about it. So I just had that conversation with the boys. I'm like, you know what ChatGPT is? And one of their friends knows it. And okay, cool. So you need to start learning how to be a critical thinker. Look outside the box. Find the resources. And then we could have a conversation further. But yeah, we had encyclopedias. I used to be at the library a lot. So when I had to do research, I go in a little microfiche. We had to go find the old newspapers with the stuff, crazy. It was deeper. So yeah.
So growing up, who did you admire? Did you see anybody that looked like you, or maybe somebody that you was like, I want to be like her? Or...
I had two family members that I feel like I just needed, it's like the woman with the issue of blood. I'm like, I just need to touch the hem of somebody that's doing something. Literally, we were on welfare, when I was growing up. So nobody was really doing much. But I had an aunt who had married up.
Let's talk about what's married up mean, Aries? Let's talk about that.
She married up. So she used to work for, let's say we're here in Dallas, DART, right?
Okay.
So she used to drive the bus. Okay. What our equivalent of that was in the Bay Area was the AC Transit. And then we had, so her husband was the superintendent over all of the East Bay, right? So he was the man, you know what I'm saying? So she married.
She made up.
And then, but also she's the kind of like the what do you call it? In my family, she's the oldest daughter. So she was like the mother of all 7 of them.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, right. So she's my godmother. She was the one that was like the auntie that had the money, that had the nice house, whatever. So like every weekend I was trying to go to her house because I'm like, we live in a 1-bedroom, it's 5 of us. I'm trying to go over to her house, So I used to spend a lot of time over there. And her husband had a daughter, and she was about, my sister's 5.5 years older than me, and she's probably like 3 years older than my sister. So she's a lot older. But she was going to college. And it was like community college, but she would be in there studying. I got to study and stuff. And I would be like, can I just be in here with you? Like, I would just be in the room with her while she was studying. I'm going to be quiet. I'm not going to say anything, whatever. And she would let me just kind of be in her space. So I would just be watching her, like, I'm like, she reading her little book. What's that? And then I would still be asking questions and stuff. But I was like, okay, like, she's learning something, whatever. And it was just something about her doing that, like in that space where I'm like, that's cool, like I like that she's, doing something with her life. So that was one person. But then when I was about 12 years old, me and my dad and my grandmother went to a family reunion. I had never been to a family reunion. This is the first one, and this is on my dad's side. So this is like his first cousin was hosting it. When I tell you that she lived in a fat house in Sacramento, like I had never seen. Now, I told you I was living in a 1-bedroom with a bunch of people. And it was like 3-car garage, tennis court in the back, the dog run, like straight, whatever. She was married to like a judge. She was a professor at FAMU, actually. But she was like off for the summer or whatever. And she had came back. And I'm like, this is my family?
Yeah. Like,
you're in my family?
Yes.
Like that just put a whole fire under me. And I remember just like, I could tell you exactly how her house looks right now. To this, like everything about the house, I remember. I actually just found a picture of me in her backyard, like at that thing. So, I remember asking her, I said, what do I need to do to have this? That day, like, I was like, what do I need to do to have this? And she was like, go to school. Don't have no babies till you turn 40. She was like, listen, go to school. Don't have no babies till you turn 40. And whatever. And that's all I heard. And I'm like, I got to go to school. That's all I knew. Yeah, I got to go to school. Like, school is going to be the answer. My cousin is in school. She's learning. She was doing stuff. This is what I needed. Cool. I didn't wait till I was 40. But I was 30, before I had kids. Like, I purposely, like, I got to go to school. I went and got my master's degree. Like, did all the things that I wanted to do before, that because of her words, really.
It's crazy how being exposed to certain things really will, like, help you. So for me, I had an aunt, my aunt Denise, she passed away from breast cancer in 2012, but she went to Fisk. I don't think she graduated, but she would always fuss at me because, like, I was going down the wrong direction when I was young. And she would always tell me, like, you need to read. You need to, like, expand your mind. You can do so. She was just used to tell me, like, you can do anything you want in life. And, like, and I'd be like, girl, why you always, I just want to get on LimeWire and make me a mix CD. Like, you know, why? But she used to always say that. And now those words keep me going, and that's why I aspire to be that light to, like, my nieces and nephews. Like, you can do everybody, like, read a book. You can do anything. Like, and I think that is important, like, what you expose yourself to. It's a term. I don't know the term of it, but the way my dad, like, growing up, my dad raised me, and I guess it's a way of, like, spending quality time was he would take us on Sundays to go look at houses. Like, I don't know what that term is called. I'm gonna have to find.
Like going to model homes and stuff?
Yeah, we would go look at model homes.
That all the time.
And like, so that's, I don't even know if he knows this, but, like, exposing me to, like, that kind of life. Like, oh, I can actually walk in a house like this that's big and that's beautiful, and I could do it, I ain't got it yet, but still. I still do that though. Like, I still go and look at homes so I can just be inspired. Like, hey, this is attainable to you too, because I think that, like, at the time I didn't really necessarily believe that I could have it. But as I got older, I'm like, oh, I'm not settling. I'm not settling for just anything. I don't want to be in survival mode all my life. And
no.
So, like, when it comes to being a trailblazer and taking a leap, like, I'm like, I don't even know what's going to happen, but I'll figure it out, you know, like, just jump and just see. So
they say you reach for the stars, you'll touch the sky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll get close at least.
Yeah.
Like, even with me right now, it's like, no, I don't have the house that I can picture in my head.
It's beautiful, though. Your house is beautiful.
But I'm like, for the girl who was living in the one bedroom, who had nobody, that, like, literally when I think about all of that, it is amazing to me. Like, when I look around my house, I just be like, wow.
Listen,
like, this mine?
Literally. And you know what? Something that I have been more intentional about is just operating out of a space of gratitude, because I remember what it was like when I first moved here. Like how, like when I first was sleeping on somebody's floor with my suitcase and airbed that deflated, you know, and I lived like that for months. And then to go from there to having my own space and then to move in here, you know, so it's like, girl, look at how far you've come. I have to tell myself that all the time when I get discouraged or when I feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, I don't have enough. It's like, girl, remember what it was like when you first started, you know, like
gratitude is so key to growth, because we will just move on to some, you know, you can easily forget. And I think that's why a lot of times in the Bible, like, it's about remembering, leaving something there for remembrance. Like, when you pass this every time, you're going to, oh yeah, that's that time.
I remember what it was like.
So
Absolutely.
It's like, you do have to continue to look back, you know, on that and see it. Because for me, I'm like, woo, that's what gets me every time. Like, if somebody see me praising the Lord at church,
listen,
that's why. It ain't about nothing probably going on in that moment. Like, there's really not many, and this is hard to say, but like, things that I can accomplish from right now that are bigger than what has already happened. Like, you know, you'd be like, God he don't have to do nothing else. Even though you'd be like, but I kind of want you to still do it. But that don't mean don't do that. But I can see it now why people say that, because there's so many huge things that he's done that I'm like, that I am content, like, really. And it's just, yeah, I'm like, that's actually how you grow your faith and build your faith, because you keep seeing, like, all the time, remember? Like, all the time. Have I failed you yet? Listen. No, you literally haven't. So let me just abide in you and just trust you. Okay, whatever you decide. It's cool. Forget my plans. I ain't jumping on my plans, because your plans are dope. Yeah. Like, what you end up doing is so much better than what I thought I wanted.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, when you were young, did you see you were exposed to things, like, you got a chance to read and learn and see, but did you see the life that you live now when you were younger?
It's interesting, because I'm a future forward thinker. And when I was 17, I wrote myself a letter as an assignment from a teacher who was like, you're going to write yourself a letter that you'll open 10 years from now. Talk about, like, what you're going to be doing. What are you going to, you know, like, when you open that letter, it should say, this is what my life is going to be like, you know, whatever. And then you open it 10 years from now. Well, I didn't see it until 20 years later. I found it in the garage of the house that I live in now, which I'm like, where did I pack this away at? I didn't pack this away multiple times. I didn't move. I don't know how many times. So I was about to throw a bunch of stuff away. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is the letter. And when I tell you that 90% of the letter had been accomplished, the time frame wasn't exact. The name of the school wasn't exact, you know, but a lot. Like, I said that I was going to graduate from college. I'm going to work in computers. I don't know what kind of computer job just yet, but I know I'm going to make a lot of money. I said that, right? And I said, because back then it was just computers. It wasn't IT and all the stuff they talk about now. But I also said that I was going to get a master's degree. And if I had opened it 10 years before, I wouldn't have done all the things. So that's another thing that it was like, the timeliness of it was perfect. I said I was going to have 2 boys.
Oh my God, really?
Yes.
I need to go find my old journal. What was I saying?
I said I'm going to have 2 boys. I don't know what it was. I just knew I wanted to be like a boy mom. I don't know. That was just already there. What else did I say? It was a bunch of stuff I said in there, but it was like, wow, like, oh, I actually did I did it.
You did it, yeah.
I just hope it don't start hailing outside because like I really don't have time. I was gonna park in somebody's parking spot that had a cover over it, but I was like, nah.
I hope not. It's raining. It's raining outside, by the way.
But yeah, so I saw positive things. I just didn't know. You know, you never really know how it's gonna play out.
Yeah.
And I would expose myself again. The Cosby Show, different world. Like, I use all kind of things to help me see what I wanted. Like, I'm a vision board person. I'm very into like manifesting my things, you know, and putting it out there of what I want. So I would try to surround myself with things. Like, I was a kid who I would go to the self-help section of the library or the bookstore and be reading stuff about how to be better at this, and that. Like, I just always was about growth and like how to work on myself.
Even as a kid?
As like a teenager.
Okay.
Teenager or young in college and stuff like that. Like, I'd just be like, let me read this book about how to do this, how to do that. Like, that was just my thing.
And see, that's how I was too. And I kind of felt a little out of place. And so like people who know me, this is going somewhere, like people who know me now versus who I was before, like I didn't see myself in this light, like being like I love Jesus, you know, like and like I wasn't always this. Like I really got a past, and I have secrets, and I have things. I've been around people and just did things that were just not good for me and not good for my livelihood, right? And so you want to know what's crazy? I'll talk about this. Like, you never know who's watching you. You never know who's inspired by you. And most people, my friends, like they'll make fun of me or joke at me because of my admiration for Keisha Cole, right? And so, but my love for Keisha is not because of the music. It's because she showed us her life.
She did.
And she showed us that you can make it, you can persevere. And like she had a dysfunctional family, you know what I'm saying? But she put them on and she showed it, you know? And so I admire her from 2007, like, oh my God, who is this girl? You know, like I knew she had a light. And so like growing, that was kind of like one of the first people that I was like, oh, maybe I can do something. Cause she kind of come from a life that is not like, didn't nobody give her nothing, you know? And so that's why I love Keisha Cole so much. It's not just about like her music. It's just her story.
The authenticity of her life.
Exactly.
You know, like that's what I connect to. I connect with authentic people.
Yeah.
And the fakeness, I can see it a mile away. And I just feel like I can't relate. You know, like especially with me coming from my background, right? I'm like, I know when you being fake, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not a fake person. I'm very direct. Like I'm, you know, so when I see someone, I'm like, oh no, they're real. Like that's the people that I'm drawn to, which is another reason. I really didn't have a lot of like mentors per se, because I just didn't see anybody that was me. Future me.
That part.
You know, because usually when you're looking for a mentor, you want someone who you're like, oh yeah, we on the same page. Like, we see eye to eye, you know. And they get me because they have lived this life and they've done the thing that I want to do. And I just really hadn't seen many people in my space that had that. Like, I just never saw it. I just didn't see it. So that's why I asked you that question. Like, was there somebody that you looked to like, oh, I want to be like this, or oh, I want to do this? Because for me, it wasn't that. I didn't think that I could go to college because I felt like I messed up too bad in high school. So I'm like, I can't go. But then my school, I went to a college prep school and it was in the middle of the hood, but still it was a preparatory school. And they were like, well, they pay for college applications. They were like, you have to apply. And it was honestly, she was a librarian turned like kind of mentor. Her name is Miss North. And she was like, literally, she was on us, like all the little black kids, like, hey, she was a little white lady. Love her though. But she was like, you need to apply for colleges and all that. And at first I was like, you know, I'm not doing that. But then when life started to get real and I'm like, oh, baby, I can't do what y'all doing forever. I'm like, I don't want to do that. And so that's when I had to like really get my life together. Like, okay, well, what you going to do? Figure it out. So I ended up applying for schools and I got accepted to over like 15 colleges. Wow. 15
colleges. And like my journey wasn't necessarily like a pleasant one because my parents kind of was like, this is different. you know, so it wasn't the support that I felt like I should have had at that time. And so I played it safe. I still went away to school now. Like, and that story is, I'll put it in a book or something, but I still went away to school. And it was the best decision that I ever made because I got out of the box, that environment, and I just exposed myself to something different. And so honestly, that's how I've been able to grow so much with just getting out of my comfort zone, going to events, talking to people. And then like when you are attracted to people who are their authentic self, then it's like, oh, you're like me. Oh, what else can I do? So you never know who's watching you or who's being inspired.
It's always that next level, right? That next thing you're like, oh, okay, I could fly first class. Yep. You know what I mean? Like it'll go from like, oh, we're going to go to Houston on a trip. Versus, because I remember I had a girl, I actually had a lady, well, she ended up being a really good friend of mine, but she was my sister's age, and we worked at AT&T together, and she was cute, she was, you know, sassy, you know, very like boss chick, you know, type, and I was like, I like her, like, you know, so, and she had worked the system, she's from the hood, you know, from where I'm from, you know, and she was in there like, yeah, so you got to do it like this, you know, this how you work it, you know, and I was like, okay. So she was like a mentor to me at one point, where even just like going out of town. So like I'm from the Bay Area. So she'd be like, come on, we're going to LA this weekend. And I'd be like, going to LA? Like it was just all, it's like, we're just going to hop on a plane and go, you know, she'd rent a car. Like, I'm like, we live in the real life. Like, this is what I want to be like. At her age, I want to be doing it, you know? So that was like at a point. And even we had the same major when we were in school. We went to the same college. I was in college at that time. So I was kind of getting her advice on what teachers to take and whatever. Eventually our relationship changed into more of a just friendship, you know, whatever. And the crazy part is, and I have never talked about this publicly, but like there's a point where you know, the teacher, the student kind of, you know, that's actually how our relationship kind of
turned out.
It didn't go well. Because I had taken, which I would take if it was me. I want, if somebody is a mentee of mine or something, I want to do better. Like I'm giving you the key so you can be better than me. We shouldn't be copying. You should not be copying the same stuff. Like with my kids, I'm giving you the boosts. Use it, you know, and be better. Like that's an accomplishment for someone to see people that they've taught something do better. You know? So I feel like that wasn't really well received, you know. So we ended up kind of not being friends but we were friends for a long time. But it's like there were things I was attracted to that, like if I could see myself, you know, in a space, like I have to feel like this can be me. This could be me one day, you know, like, is that what I want to be? Is that what I want to look like? I don't chase titles and stuff like that. Like, I'm not a person that'll be like, oh yeah, I want to be the CEO of the, I don't.
Me either. Yeah.
No, I don't.
So do you feel like, so I think like even with relationships and mentor relationships, I believe in seasons. I believe that you'll attract someone in a season that you need them and they'll help you. Because there's been plenty of people in my life who've helped me get through some hard times, who've helped me come and to know a new version of myself. And then when that season is up, it's like, ooh, or when you be around people too much and then you start to see
the real stuff.
And I'm just like, oh, okay, you know, so it's like I'm grateful for that season, but this time has passed, you know. And I'm to be honest, I am so okay with goodbyes. They don't, or see you later, you know. Like I'm okay with that because like I believe that when seasons change, they just change. And
there's a book called Woman Code by her name is I think Sonia Nelson.
I've heard of her.
But she talks about the time to learn to cut or untie a relationship, right? There's some where you be like, I gotta totally cut you. And some where you just need to release and maybe you'll come back together again another time, but it's not like a hard cut where it's just like, it's just a drifting, you know, or whatever. So just learning, and also relational intelligence.
I love that book, Pastor Darius.
Yes, because that will help you categorize your relationships in ways that are more accurate and more peaceful because your expectations for them aren't too much. Yep. You know, you're expecting an associate to act like a friend. And that's just not how it works. So
I had to learn that hard way.
When we come to grips with it, we're just like, oh, it's not a big deal because you're not like my best friend or nothing. Like if they're my best friend, then we have to have a conversation. It's not that serious.
So how do you feel with like accomplishing like a lot of the things that you've done, maybe surpassing people who have probably helped you pave the way? What do you feel a sense of like survivor's remorse? Is that the right?
That is a word.
Yeah.
I think not necessarily survivor's remorse for me. Because I feel like a lot of what I had to do, they benefit from my stuff, you know, specifically around like family, right? So it's like, I'm doing a lot more. I know that I earned what I've done. You could make the same decisions. You could have made some decisions as well to do something different, and maybe you didn't do that. So I don't feel bad. You know, because most of the time I've tried to get you to do something, right? I'd be like, here's some programs and here's some this. And I try to do the same thing for them. And when you don't, then we got to keep it going.
We all like the opportunity might not necessarily look the same, but there's so much access. Like you were saying earlier, like there's so much access to so many different things. You just got to start.
How bad do you want change? Because to me, it's hard no matter what. It was hard to go to school while working full time, while dealing with family drama and issues. And at the same time, literally when I was in high school and elementary, like my family was full of drama. It was just a lot of stuff going on. And for me to have even made it through the way I did as a B student, which I'm very proud of, because for that to have been my life story and be a B student, that's nothing but God, because I was not getting any help from anybody. I didn't have any tutors. My mama has never looked at a piece of homework a day in her life, but she'll tell you, like not even in elementary. I was just doing my thing.
Same.
You know? So I'm like, I filled out those forms. I signed myself up for the programs. The summer jobs I was working, I signed the applications. I went and did the interviews. I did everything on my own. So I have a sense of pride around my ability to make a way for myself, you know, in that environment. I remember working a summer job that I lived in a roach infested apartment with my mom. And, had to walk blocks down to another little hood location where I worked a summer job that I worked from a 40-hour a week. I was making $6 an hour. At that time, was I making $6 an hour? I probably was making $4.25 an hour. I think I was making $4.25 an hour at that time. So that I could save all my money and buy my school clothes that year. That's why I worked, literally.
And you know what? This is why I'm so drawn to you, because I relate to you in so many ways, especially when it comes to like having the success that you have now. But it's like, this was earned. Yeah. I worked for this. But I think sometimes I've struggled with this. Like, I don't want people that I've come up with, or I don't want nobody to think that I think I'm better or because I'm doing certain things. But I just feel like you have you can make a choice.
And it's really how you carry yourself. I don't think I really have not had people come at me like that. Yeah. Because they know. They saw me walking and being like, there she go. Dudes in the hood to tell you right, they be like, they just see me and they be doing this every time because they see she coming and she going. She going, yeah. Like you putting in the work. I'm going to school from 8 to 12 and I'm working from 1 to 10 every day, you know? And so they would see me, you know, working and walking and going and, you know, I was just like this. I wasn't hanging out. I wasn't doing that. You're choosing to do that. You could be doing something too. You can make a decision. But some people say, that's too much. That's too hard. Okay, well, you think that's too hard? It's harder to stand on these corners. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that was actually my motivation. And I'm glad that I actually was living in the hood while I was doing it. Because it was every day when I'd be like, I don't feel like going to class. And I'd be like, if you don't go to class, your butt going to be standing out here. What you going to do? You know, like it was literally the visual was right there.
Like,
so
exactly.
I was like, I got to get out of here. It was more of a motivator for me to get out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I needed to get out in the first place.
And so what you said something that made me think, that's where I struggle. And I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing or not, but growing up especially, it's really hard for you to try to tell me something, especially if you didn't support me, if you didn't have a hand in it. Don't tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. That's really hard for me. And even now I be trying to like check myself, because I think like you can learn from anybody, you know what I'm saying? But I think that sometimes maybe my arrogance growing up, or feeling like, because I was arrogant, because I mean, outside of like my pain, it was kind of like, well, I'm working, I'm doing things, like I don't ask nobody for anything, you know, like if a parent, like you doing things that you're supposed to do, you know, but you're not even involved. So don't tell me that I can't go to college because I'm too average of a student when you wasn't present, you know, like how dare you, you know, like thank God I got accepted to over 15 colleges,
wow,
you know,
that's dope.
And my experience was just kind of like, well, you need to go to a community college first and see. And I'm like, why? And like this was my senior year. My whole thing, they was like, you need to go to community college first and just see if it works. And I'm like, why would I do that when I got opportunities, I got scholarships? And that fear did kind of keep me from going maybe to the school that I wanted to go. But I was like, with or without your support, I'm going, and I'm gonna just see what's gonna happen. Even when it came to Dallas, like, I'm going, and I'm just going to see what's going to happen.
That's me in my whole life, though.
Yeah.
And I did mess up where my dad told me to go to community college. He used to work at the community college. He was the head coach for the baseball team for a million years. And it would have been better for me to go to the community college, honestly. But I wanted to be away from them. And I wasn't that far. It was a commuter school that I was at. It wasn't that far away. But I went, then I got kicked out of school because my grades, I wasn't doing the things.
Weren't ready.
You know, I wasn't ready to be on my own. I mean, I wasn't ready to have that responsibility at that level. I had responsibility where I lived on my own as a teenager, actually, and I was going to school every day and doing all that. But the freedom of college and living, you know, I had lived on campus at first for a while, and that didn't work out. But I ended up going to the community college, retaking all those classes. I had to humble myself because now imagine you went to college. Now you got to come back in the community. And sure, I was a straight A student. Yeah. I was like, I got to get back out of here. But I was so motivated to continue. I had so many times I wanted to quit, you know, like just mentally drained. I'm tired of this, but it was never an alternative that was better. So then I'm like, you got to figure it out. You got to do it.
That's literally how, like, even now it's like, well, you got this far. What, you gonna quit? What's the alternative? Yeah, you have to finish. You got to see it through. That's literally that's been my experience too. So from you persevering through all of those things, like, how did you get into tech? Like, what was your first, like, from AT&T, like?
Well, first, how the AT&T job came, I was working at the bank. I was a teller it used to be Washington Mutual, now Chase. But it was a different bank that I was working at actually before that. And then our bank got acquired by Washington Mutual at the time, which was like a bigger, more commercial bank. I was in a smaller, like, community bank. And so I knew everybody and all that. And when I got to that bank, all my old customers they would like line up to be with me. Cause like older people, they feel like you're handling my money specifically. Like, I only want her to do my
everybody.
It's not that big of a deal, but that's just how they work. And so I had a guy who came in who worked for AT&T in HR, and he was going on vacation. They were going to put a hold on his check for like 5 days. And he was like, I need more money. So I was like, okay, after like 2 days, I'm going to take it off, take the hold off, and then, you know, you'll have it for the rest of the trip. So when he came back, the first thing he said was, you want a job? He was like, you need a job? I was like, yes. So I was making like $8.50 an hour. And he said, he gave me a card, and then he was like, call this lady, got an interview. And I went and that was the tech support job with the cable TV. And I went up to $12.50 an hour, girl.
Falling.
Stop playing with me.
No, they make it. You can feel it. Yeah, to 12.
Full time now. This was a part time job I had. So, and my hours were flexible or whatever. So, I mean, not flexible, but they were different hours where I could go to school during the day and do my work, shift work or whatever. So I was pleased. So that's how I kind of got into it. But how I got into like the more, I got deeper into it. I worked that job. I had to reapply for a whole nother job. The phone company and AT&T, it was like a whole thing. But anyways, one of my managers had dropped off a thing that said they're hiring for people to do DSL tech support or something like that. And I'm like, what's DSL?
I still don't know. Tell me.
But dial-up, it was the next thing from dial-up where you don't have to get off the phone no more, right?
Oh, okay.
Digital subscriber line. So like, but we don't have Google. We had Mr. It was Ask Jeeves. It was like the first one. The first
I remember that. Oh my gosh.
He still really didn't, like, it wasn't enough information in there yet at the time. But I remember just trying to look it up and find out, like, I don't know, but I'm about to try to get this job. And I went over there and actually, it was a group of people that were all out there trying to apply. They gave us these little one sheet page thing that said, it was like a little assessment just to see if you know some terminology. I'm like, I don't know this. I don't know none of this. I don't know any of this.
That was me. I was like,
what are you talking about? Like the words were just foreign. So I'm sitting here like, how am I about to get to this? Because you're gonna still interview. They're just they're gonna pull your assessment and have this conversation. So I'm like, how are you gonna sell yourself? Because you know how to do this. You know how to troubleshoot computers. Like at this point, I'm really good at troubleshooting computers. I don't know the language. So I'm going from troubleshooting TV to computers, but I already knew how to troubleshoot computers because of the computers I had at my house. Like I had been doing this. So I know how to do, and y'all gotta give me 3 weeks training. So what are we talking about? I don't need to know that. Right. So now I'm like, forget this. And it was a black woman interviewing me. So I was like, yeah, I'm about to get this job. So as soon as she grabbed the paper to like get ready to talk to me, I put my hand over the paper. I said, don't look at this. I said, don't look at this. She was like, it was funny because after I talked to her later, she had given me her view. She was like, I said, this girl's something else.
What is wrong with you?
She is something else.
What's wrong with this girl?
I said, listen, I said, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know this. I don't know the vocabulary on this, but I know how to troubleshoot computers. I've done this. Like I just started selling myself and really explaining to her that I know it. I just don't know the technical terms for the things that I'm doing, but I know what to do. Like I could do that with the back of my head, so I just sold myself and she's like, I'm gonna give this girl a chance. Cause she was like, you were too confident. Like later we talked about, she was like, you were so confident. I was like, okay,
I gotta let you have it.
Yeah. Right? And I was at the top of my class when we graduated. I remember they were hating on me. It was all men and they were just saying how I wasn't gonna be, good and all this. And I'm a note taker too. So I had all my notes. I was thorough. I knew my stuff. And when we had to take our final test, I said, can you tell us who had the best score of the, can you tell us? I'm just curious, like who did? He was like, you did. I was like, what was that? So, and that was the start of like, everything. That's the company I moved to Texas with, to help train them. They had a new call center they were opening up here in Texas for the Uverse when they started AT&T Uverse. It was a tier 2 tech support center, and I helped train all those people, and I went to Arizona to train people and help them start up stuff like that. All of that from just being bold, being a bold black girl. You can't be scared. You got to just go for it.
Just do it and see.
Let them tell you no.
That's what I learned the most from you, because every time something's going on at work, I'm texting Aries like, when I figured out like, oh, I'm being underpaid. Yeah. And now I move according to my pay scale now. Yes. Like I learned, but definitely like being bold. But what I heard you say is like somebody gave you a chance. They took a chance on you. Well, you didn't like blow that. You know, like you was prepared. Okay, well, you gonna give me a chance. I'm gonna prove that I can do X, Y, and Z. Like relationships really are currency. That's what I've been trying to tell people, even the people like that I mentor or whatever. Like your relationships, how you treat people, and even how you treat the little people who you feel like are insignificant. Like because your representation is gonna go before you, and people are gonna remember you, how you treated them, you know, or did you show up? Did you do what you said you was gonna do? You know,
absolutely. Most of the jobs I've had were people referring me. Like I've only probably had 2 jobs that I actually applied for. Like even the job I have now, somebody referred me, and then I had to obviously go through the process. But like mostly it's people, old bosses, somebody like, oh, you still okay, well, come over here and work over here. Okay, cool. Like, because it's the networking is super important. Like people want to neglect networking. You need to be a part of some groups. If you want to get into tech, get on meetup.com and find the groups that are in the field that you want to learn more about and go over there and be in their monthly meetings.
Be around what it is that you want to do.
Yeah.
I love that.
Learn.
So, and I feel like that's kind of what you are when it comes to like motherhood and you teaching your boys, like you're always exposing them to things so that they know that they can be around certain things. And, you know, like who knows what that's going to blossom into when they get older. I love that. I feel like your boys are going to be so well-rounded.
They better be. No,
because you are so intentional, the way you talk to them, the way you got them involved in so many things. Like that's the kind, if I was to ever be a mom, I want to be a mom like that. Like I didn't come from this, but a good family going to come from, you know, that's one of my favorite things about like watching you from afar.
Because you think about what you wanted, right? Like for me, my mom wasn't able to do all of the things, you know, that I would have ideally wanted, right? Like you have this dream of yourself as a kid of what kind of family you want or whatever. And that just wasn't the cards that I was dealt.
Yep.
So when I have the opportunity now with my kids, I'm like, I want to... It's almost like healing myself through them, honestly, by being better or handling things different, you know, in a different way. So even just our communication, all that kind of stuff, like signing them up for stuff, even when they don't want to do it. I don't care because you don't know. That's why I'm here. You know, it's like my relationship with my kids is so in alignment with my relationship with God. Like, it's like he used my kids to talk to me because it's like as soon as I say something out of my mouth to them, it's like him going, and you too. You too. So I can be like, you need to think about other people and not just yourself. You know, every word like comes right back, you know, to me. And it's like, so yeah. And I just want for me as a parent, I don't think that I can, you know, raise perfect kids or do any of that because I'm very open with them. I'm like, I'm not perfect. I don't know. Like, I'm just doing the best that I'm trying to do as much as I can do, but also I got to teach you how to be an independent person, how to research, how to be a critical thinker. Like, these are things that I know you're going to need to survive in the world, right? But I want you to be a good citizen. I want you to have good character. You need to know who God is. You're going to need him. You don't realize it right now, how much you're going to need God in your life. You need a foundation. It's going to be, I just had this talk with them like 2 weeks ago because they just got back from that camp with the church. And I was like, as a parent, I have to be as strategic as possible with introducing you to God and you knowing, you know, building your own relationship with him, because there are going to be things in your life where you're going to make mistakes that are going to be gut wrenching, that you think are the last, like, life is over, you know, and those feelings, you have to have a source that you can go draw from to replenish you during those times. And if you don't have God, like, this is how people start doing drugs and, you know, like just all kind of things that they can go to, vices that aren't good. And you need to always know that no matter what, I have somewhere I can go.
I was going to ask you, like, how were you introduced to faith? Because you're right. Like, even if I feel like if you don't give your kid nothing else, you need to introduce them. It's not your relationship to give them salvation. I mean, it's not your responsibility to give them salvation, but you introduce them to God, let them build, and God will he'll take care of the rest.
You plant the seed and water it, and he'll do the increase.
He'll do it.
So it's like, I knew that I couldn't teach my kids about God the way I learned, because I learned through, like my grandmother and her sisters were in church, and we just went, we just had to go because that's where they went. So we grew up in there. But then my mom, when she got saved, my mom and my dad used to be on drugs and stuff for a long time. And then when I was about 8 or 9, my mom was the first one, and she went all the way. We were Pentecostal too, so it went to the extreme in there. So it was very like culture shocking for us, as kids and stuff too. But so it was like, you need to get saved or you're going to hell type. That's how who God is. Like you need to. It was very like, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. That kind of thing. And obviously, as time went on. And even though that was like a very dogmatic like way to introduce, it was a foundation point that I kept kind of drawing back. And then I had to build my own relationship through that. I had to heal from a lot of that rhetoric. But when I came to Texas, I took that as an opportunity to really like try to dig. And it was so much I realized I had to shed out of my mind of who I thought God was and like to just like really trust him as my friend, as someone who has my best interest. It's not about that. So I had to really, really and continuously, now I'm in like a really good place, but like the process of really saying, I don't have to have shame, because I could actually have this conversation with God and he's not going to turn his back on me. He knows who I am. He made me. I'll be like, you the one made me.
You made me this way.
We be having real conversations. Now I'll be like, and you love me like I'll be acting crazy, like when I do crazy stuff and stuff. So I learned to lean into him when I do it instead of running away. Because I would be like, I ain't going to church because last night I was acting a fool, or whatever. Now I just be like, no matter what, I'm going to still come to you, and that's the part where I feel like I prayed about my kids and having a relationship with God that was so important to me. So like when this camp came up, I was excited about it. I'm glad they had a good time. But also I asked God to like really, so now this golf program, so I have my son signed up, they're in Kappa League. And there was a program that came up where they were like, you're getting this email because you were specifically selected to participate in this thing or something. I'm like, why? Why did we get selected? Like, well, who are we out of all the people, right? But I'm like, hey, I'm going to take it. And basically it's a golf program that is called Golf 316. It's a nonprofit. It's led by some guys from one community.
Really?
Didn't know that until I like went on the site and looked. And it's a faith-based program teaching the kids life skills, and golf. This is literally the prayer that I had, because I was like, Lord, I want to get them in this golf stuff. I was praying about that, and I'm praying about them with him. And now they get weekly, because me and their dad we're not together. So we co-parent, and they're with him on the weekends, and I can't make him take them to church, So it's like, Lord, help me figure out how to do this without them having that same experience I had where I was in church 5 times a week, growing up. They're not getting that. So how can I incorporate you into our life, and this was just another way to like, I was like, see how he does?
Yes. And you saying something, it just makes me think of like why it's so important for people to walk in your purpose and be in your own lane. Because God has literally created all of us to do something specific for us, for his people, and like I feel like a lot of people are trying to imitate other people or do what somebody else is doing, and you think, or you're depressed because you don't have the success when God told you to go plant a daycare and you trying to be an influencer. You know what I'm saying? Because you're seeing somebody else do it. It's like, stay in your lane and do what God has called you to do, so that way kids like yours can be exposed. Like we are so important. It's important for us to be in so many the places of the world. We're in the world. We're not of the world. So that's why we have to be uncompromising and like walking in our faith and doing things, so that way these kids can have experiences, so that way future generations can go on. I
mean, when the pandemic happened, I homeschooled the boys for a year. I don't recommend. But one of my friends who I used to be in a run club with is a teacher. And she started tutoring during the pandemic because obviously like schools were shut down. Like it was the whole thing. So she started doing tutoring. I was like, hello. You about to teach them English and math? Perfect. That's all I care about at this point, honestly, because I was really researching it. So she was like their teacher, basically. Thank God. But during that time, my kids actually got a chance to watch me at work. You know, like, because we have a long desk. They had a desk over here and over here, and I'm on calls every day, you know, and they're hearing me. And this was a point when I was advocating for, which I said at this job when I got it, I was going to mind my business and be quiet. And I wasn't going to be a bold black girl at this job. I was like, I'm just going to be quiet. And that is not what happened. So 3 months in, George Floyd.
Oh,
you know, all this stuff, right? And I'm at a company that I'm probably number 5 black person, you know, at the company. And I started advocating, and we started having these meetings. We started talking about DEI, like, so like now we have a program. It's still not perfect. There's a lot we need to do, you know, to still improve, but we hired a person. We like all these things happened that we have now because of, you know, the bold black girl had to come out. I was like, I have to say something, you know? So that's my purpose. I know that that's my purpose because I risk myself at work a lot because I'm vocal, you know, and I just sacrifice that because I'm like, I don't care. Because like I said, that's just who I am, you know, but my sons, I asked them one day, I said, what do I do for work? I'm like, what do you think I do for work? You know? And my oldest son, he said, you help black people get jobs. And I was like, I like that.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
That's not my job.
Yeah, you know, but that's how you see me.
That's how you see what I do because you hear me. You know, and then he start picking up more on different conversations that I have now, you know, when they're not at home. But I'm like, that's what you're getting from what I'm doing just naturally. You know, that's my hobby. That's not something that I do for my actual job, you know, but it just kind of in the tone of what you were saying, as far as like walking in who you are. Like there were times where I tried to quiet myself, and that was one of the most depressive times of my life as a young 20-something-year-old, and knowing I know something and holding back on it because I'm like, they're going to be saying this, or they're not going to want to, or they're going to mansplain over me, or they're going to talk this way or whatever, instead of just, those are the things I regret the most, was not being vocal. You know, and like silencing myself. And so I just promised myself I'm not going to do that no more. And hey, if you fire me because I'm being, you know, I'm advocating or shedding the light on something that needs to be handled, okay, well, fine. God'll provide.
Yep. So I love that you say, and it's kind of like it brings it back kind of full circle, because that's the way that your children are perceiving you with the work that you're doing. But your 9 to 5 ain't gotta be your purpose.
It doesn't,
because you're serving purpose while you're there. But then you kept saying something about being a bold black girl, and that leads me to your podcast with Kim. Like, how did that come about? How did you just know, like, hey, bold black girl, we here, we gonna talk about everything?
Mainly because that podcast was birthed out of our experience as black women in corporate America, right? And I used to really feel like I was the problem, because when I would speak up, I didn't realize the environment I was walking into. So again, I didn't have anybody who I knew who was in a corporate who could give me the game on how to work the system in those environments. Now you take me to the hood, I got that down. I got that down pat. But coming in now, I know I'm smart. I'm already a bold black girl. I'm walking through the door bold because I know my stuff. And I know my stuff. Even when I tell the lady, hey, don't look at this paperwork.
That was definitely bold. Yeah.
You know, that is who I am. That's who I have been. One thing I do is I keep, sometimes I keep little files or like little papers or memos that I wrote, or emails or something from different jobs. So I can go back to the job I'm talking about and see memos that I wrote. I was like, girl, yes. Tell them, girl, you know? And I'm like, wow, you were really, it's inspiring to me to see it, you know? So I've always been like that, but that has gotten me in trouble at jobs. You know, I've been laid off, you know, and I know why. I know that my voice is why.
Mm-hmm.
So I would try to course correct it by being like, okay, I'm gonna just be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just gonna do this. And then nothing worked. I was like, well, you might as well have just said it.
Yeah.
If they're gonna lay you off anyway, like you might as well be yourself. So I took a career pause for a year because I had a very toxic work environment. And it messed me up. That was one of the ones that just was like, dang, like this one hurts more, you know? And I took a time off, and that's when I started volunteering with, I was already volunteering with DFW Alliance of Technology and Women, but I got more deep into it because I wasn't working full time. So I was like, oh, I'm about to put all my energy in here. And it really helped me establish myself as my title is not who I am, because you're doing something that is beneficial outside of a job.
Yeah.
This is just who you are, right? So I was doing stuff for exposing that community to Black women and like all this stuff because it was a very non-Black organization. And so I started kind of, you know, trailblazing in that space. And it was a lot, you know, it was a lot going on. And so what happened was during that time, Minda Harts was writing her book. It wasn't out yet. It was probably, it hadn't come out yet, but we were having conversations on Twitter about the concepts that were in the book. And so me and her kind of got cool over Twitter. I don't even use Twitter. That was probably the most I used Twitter back then. I don't use Twitter. I really don't. I don't even know how it even got like that. But me and her connected, and me and Kim, because I had the other podcast, I was like, I want to do a podcast because I did an event where a bunch of Black women were very excited about the subject matter because we were talking about our experience in corporate America. And that was something that was not talked about back then at all. Like now it seems so crazy because it's talked about all the time now. But it was very taboo, especially in predominantly white spaces. And so after the panel, a bunch of Black women had came up and were like, we need to talk about this more. Like, finally, somebody saying it. Because I used to think, oh, it's Aries. And then when I started doing research, I'm like, it's other people. It ain't me. This is a thing, you know? And so that's how me and Minda got cool and da-da-da. So finally, me and Kim literally over text, we were just going back and forth about what we want to name the podcast because we were trying to figure out the name. And we were going back and forth. And when Bold Black Girls came up, because that actually came from a Martin Luther King speech where he was talking about build, organize, lead, he was talking about like, so that you learn so you can earn, right? He was like, build, baby, build, organize, right? So when I heard, I was like, BOL. And then I was like, well, we like development. We like personal development. Like we would just put a D and it'll be BOLD.
I love
but also
it.
bold because we are bold, so it kind of came like that. And I was like, then we could just talk about all the stuff in our own platform where nobody is going to be shutting us down because I was getting shut down on some things. And then Minda was our first guest. Like we had episodes where we were just talking about different stuff. But our 10th episode we did at the Riveter. Yep. And Minda came. We flew her in from Houston. She happened to be in Texas. Because I was like, when you going to be in Texas? So you can come, and we need to talk. And that was my first. And we had 100 people show up. We was like, 100 people? We only had 10 I'm like, has anybody even listened to the podcast yet? Yes. And so when she came, that was just like so much reassurance that we were on the right track. Because I'm like, look at all these people, coming for this conversation about this. Like it was validation that we were, doing the right thing. So that's really how
I love that. And like how your purpose has like everything that you've had to persevere through, being the only one, trailblazing, like, like doing it your way. And God is still like, and I'm going to use all of that for my glory.
All of it. And,
I love it.
And even more, like we took a break off the podcast when my dad passed. Still haven't really, like we've done some events, and stuff. Like I need to post a couple of videos actually, but we're going to get back into it. And like, I'm just kind of getting around my own grief process and like all that still, and now kind of getting my energy back up to kind of get there. But, God has really been showing me that, nothing is in vain.
Nothing. He don't waste nothing.
Nothing. And it is deep when you think about it because, even as a parent, everything I went through. And it's funny because I'm like, my kids have no clue really my story, which is why I'm like, I gotta write a book one day. I'm gonna write a book. I have to keep putting it out there because I want them to understand me. And I feel like if they actually get, because in their minds, you're rich and there's nothing I can do to convince them that I'm not. I'd be like, I am not rich. I'm doing this. Everything I'm doing is because of y'all. Like, I know I have to do stuff
forward.
So that we could. And so I'm like, y'all need to understand the real path.
Sacrifice.
Yes. Like, don't play with me.
Yeah.
Like, this is not how it works. So I want them to understand me, but also I feel like it helps me it validates me as a parent because I tell my youngest son, he's so much like me. He's so much like me that I have it's healing for me because I'm like, what would you have wanted? How would you want to be spoken to right now? Because he think he know everything all day. But I'm like, I'm hoping that I can kind of like, I told him, I said, God gave me you and he gave you me. I said, who else is going to be your mom? Who else going to be your mom? For real. And then he laughed just like you. Because I'm like, we're here. This is on purpose. This is not on accident. You need me as your mom. Because can't nobody deal with your butt like me. And I couldn't have no other kids but y'all. So it's like you start really connecting the dots of like how God, just is moving. And that is why I'll be like, let me just let him order my steps because you know why you did this, how it's all going to come back together, how it makes sense. And so, yeah.
Well, I just want to tell you, Aries, you are doing a great job.
Thank you, girl.
And keep going. Like you're raising some very well-rounded young men. And
I know they better act right.
They will.
If y'all grow up acting fool, I ain't gonna feel no kind of way about it.
I don't know.
Go talk to a therapist.
Listen, you've planted seeds, and it's like God got them. You've given them the keys, you've given them the tools, and that's what I feel like. That's what it's all about. Like, and even when it comes to forgiveness, we can talk about so many different layers to being like a generational curse breaker, but like once you learn, then you do better, and that's all we can do.
That's
like
it.
Our parents did what they thought was right. They did the best that they could, and now you take your life experiences and you make it better. That's why I feel like the ultimate respect. I think like having children, that is an ultimate gift. God trusts you with cultivating another life to bring it into this world. So like you take that job serious, like you're here to make the world go forth, like I think that is an ultimate, job from God. Like, and
if you think about like legacy, like I don't look at them as my legacy per se, because I feel like everybody has their own, they have their own legacies that they're going to be building for themselves. So I'm not living through them, but I want to really just put them in a place where you have enough knowledge to, to just be better.
Yep, that's all you can do.
It's like you don't have to deal with, and then I'm tackling things of like, there's going to be people who are going to talk crazy because you ain't from the hood. I'm from the hood. That's all we need. We don't need no more. You don't need to be from the hood. And don't feel bad.
Listen.
I'll be like, because guess what? The ones that's going to be saying that wish they could be
exactly
out.
And people who want to, there's so many posers, because people who really from that life, you ain't like you trying to get out. You know what I'm saying? You can see people that's just like, please, because you not like that.
Because I had some conversations recently with some grown men, and it made me realize something. Because it's like, with people who are from the hood, I'm from the hood. And it's this whole story, like, that is you have made that your identity. And instead of saying, you use it kind of as a crutch to a certain degree of like why I'm behaving the way I'm behaving. And I'm like, okay, so did you enjoy that?
Listen, that part.
I'm just saying, because I could say the same thing. And if I say, well, I'm from the hood too, so... And they'll be like, nah, because they want to downplay my
because of where
stuff because of what they see me doing right now.
Because of where they
I work for this. Like I don't. You can't just use it again. I'm an Aries. How people use the zodiac sign. And I'll joke about it sometimes because my name is Aries too.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, don't let that be the reason why you acting the way you acting. You know, like that is not enough of a reason. And we have to be honest about the fact that as much as people want to glorify it because of like rap and stuff like that, you know, they'll be like, you get the street cred and everything. But if y'all could have lived in the other house, because trust me, I was begging my auntie every weekend to let me come over. Can I move in?
Exactly.
Because I don't want to be dodging bullets and hitting the deck every time.
Exactly.
You know, I want white carpet.
Listen.
You know? And so it's a trip because I have to have those conversations with them too, because I'm like, just in case you encounter people who be like, oh, y'all from McKinney, y'all, you don't know. Okay, cool. I love my suburb.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I work for this. Like, I work too hard for me to create a life for my kids to experience the same things that I've done. Like, we moving forward.
Exactly.
Aries, thank you so much for sharing. Girl. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable.
Yeah.
If you could tell somebody who might feel like they're the only one, that nobody looks like them, that they don't know what they're doing, what would you tell them to like keep going?
I would just say, when you know what you know, you can't let anybody, there's a fine line between being just stubborn and like going forward with what your belief system is, you know, because as a parent, I've had my family from my mom, like people who criticize my way of parenting. They want to tell you how to do it and, oh, you're doing this. I know what I need. You know, I know what's going to be best. So I need to continue. You have to kind of keep that focus because kind of like what you said, you can learn from anything, but also try to make sure that you are getting it from sources that are going to be leading you in that path that you know you're going. Like, we all know what the trajectory is that we're trying to get to. So if somebody is trying to feed something in that is not according to that or doesn't feel right, you don't have to do it. And you can put boundaries in place to say, no, this is not how we're going to do it. We're gonna, trust me, when I had kids, I had my mama ready to just come running it and tell me how. And I'm like, no, I don't want my kid doing that. I want this. And if you have a problem with that, then we're going to have, you know, a different conversation. Yeah. So I feel like that's a bold move to be different, to be the one going past everybody and going to the school or, you know, to this job or, you know, doing this thing. I have people who tell me, don't quit that job. You don't know
what I got going on.
You don't know. You know, because you're thinking, oh, that's a good job. Yeah, that's a good job, Savannah.
We got to have another conversation.
That's a good job, Savannah. I'll be like, yeah, but that's not, I got to make moves, you know, and I have to take risks that I'm the one that have to pay the consequences for, right? Because otherwise, are you going to supplement that? Okay, well, you just sit back and relax. I made my parents very nervous, but I would just say that even with my own kids, I know that I'm a trailblazer, but I also know they have to have room to do the same. So there's going to be things that I have an opinion about that they're going to be like, no, Mom, you don't get it. Okay. Go ahead. I'm going to let you do it. And I have to say it to them so that I'm accountable for that as well, because you can't be a disruptor or a trailblazer without going against the grain. I have a viewpoint because of what I learned about technology. Well, for you to innovate, you have to break it. You got to go outside of what I'm telling you. So I have to say, okay, maybe this is their moment, you know, that they're, you know, breaking that mold or whatever. So I'm very open with them about that too. I'll be like, look, I'm going to give you all the knowledge I have and you have to take it and run with it. And then, you know, go your own path. So I think being open, having a growth mindset and flexible is going to be very important to just like continuing to, you know, break those curses, and you're not going to get support all the time. Be okay with that. You're going to be isolated, you know, a lot during the process. So, you know, but then it'll come around.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Yes, girl.
Okay, so before I go, I didn't put this in the email, but I asked all of my guests. So Let It Be has a playlist. And this playlist is just kind of like a pick-me-up spirit bank when I need to be encouraged, when I just need to be reminded of who I am. Can you tell me at least 3 songs? You don't have to tell me 3, but songs that you're listening to right now that I could add to Let It Be the playlist.
Songs.
They don't have to be gospel, but I don't want to put no rah-rah in there because I don't listen to that in the morning.
But what songs are like my... I don't be knowing names of songs either. That's the other thing. I'm trying to think.
One of my favorite songs that I'm listening to, it's not necessarily new anymore, but On Time God by Sarah Jakes, Her Woman Evolve Worship. I love that song.
There's a lot of gospel though that are my go-to. I need to get my phone. So I can look. Wait, let me get my phone. So we gonna go with oh shoot. No. Wait. Okay, here we go. So I have a thing called Encourage Her.
Okay.
And so I got I love Tasha Cobbs, For Your Glory.
Oh, I love that song.
Go to. Jill Scott Golden.
Oh, I love Jill Scott.
Because Jill is back.
Oh yeah.
So and then hold on, because I know I ain't gonna get the best one right now.
No, you good. That's why I just like the first thing that come off your head.
But also Grateful, Hezekiah Walker.
Oh, I love it.
Because sometimes you just need to go through that gratitude thing that we were talking about. So yeah, those are 3 good ones that I like.
Well, thank you so much for dropping those gems. Thank you for sharing your heart with me and us. How can people support you? Where can they find you?
Well, right now, I would just say follow me on, subscribe to Bold Black Girls on YouTube. And be patient because we're going to put some episodes out. And also on Apple Podcasts. Like we're on all the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts as well. And then my Instagram is Aries WW. That's my personal page. And we started a Bold Black Girls Golf page on Instagram. So we'll start sharing.
I love that.
So we're gonna start sharing all of our golf journey.
Okay.
Because Kim she's taking lessons and stuff too. So we've been golfing together and everything. So we're gonna be sharing a lot of that process too. Because some people just they're scared to start something new and they think that, I'm not good. No, you're not gonna be good. We're gonna show you because I'm not. I need work.
I want to come so I can get better.
Yes,
so
girl.
Nobody else.
You have to because it is so much fun and it's networking as well. So we're in a group with a bunch of Black women that are like doing the thing. So it's like you don't know who you're gonna meet and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the way. I would just say the podcast, and then there'll be some merch coming out soon.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that I link everything to the bottom. But thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let It Be the Podcast. I hope that it spoke to you. I hope that it is encouraging to you. And don't forget to subscribe to Let It Be on all Spotify, Apple, all streaming platforms. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Let It Be Podcast. You can follow me at Bree Fergie on Instagram, TikTok. That's it. That's how you can follow me. I think that's it. But anyways, in the meantime, in between time, I hope that you just continue to move forward. Be bold. Like, don't be afraid. You don't have to shrink and be okay with going alone. It's okay. If don't nobody look like you, you can do it. So I just hope that you're encouraged and I hope that it blesses you. And until next time, I will talk to you later. Bye.